In this episode, James and I take account of a time when two life changing events collided paths. There was anticipation of beginning a new chapter in life, but a change in script lurked in the shadows that no one was expecting. Listen in to how we dealt with the internal conflict of pressing forward in hard times. Four, three, two, one.
Heart
Heart
check
check one,
one
two.
two one. I'm locked in. I am locked in. I am locked in.
Yeah.
Heart
Heart check
check
one
one,
two
two, one,
one two.
two.
You're now tuned into Led from the Heart podcast. I'm James.
And I'm Jessica.
When it comes to the matters of the heart, everyone has an opinion, but very few have the answer.
That's why we curated this podcast. It's time to elevate the narrative one story at a time.
So each week, we'll take an inclusive, unbiased look at matters of the heart. We'll be speaking our truth into a world that is seldomly mentioned among the black community, growing through healing, trauma, marriage, love, and spirituality.
Pull up on us and get ready for a heart check.
Peace.
Good evening, baby. How are you today?
Wow. Now that I'm sitting here in front of you, I feel better.
Don't get me going. That sounds like you had a good, productive day. I thought it'd be good just to start it out every episode moving forward, just asking each other, how was your day? If anything happened today before we dive into our actual session tonight.
What?
Are you really about to? You need to put your phone down.
My phone is out. I multitask. I'm good like that.
Oh, gosh. Y'all, I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of Walking in Divine Purpose. That was an episode I think that was enlightening. I'm so glad we were able to do that. But new news, y'all, we got new equipment. And me and hubby are excited about it. Do we sound good? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm laughing at you. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to have a conversation tonight. But
I just want to talk all night tonight. So today on this episode, we are talking about the best of times versus the worst of times. And no,
it's not verses.
Okay, so the best of time and the worst of times. Okay. All right. So in this episode today, we are talking about the best of times and the worst of times. Today is one of those touchy subjects where we're talking about how we were celebrating the life of our daughter coming into this world, but yet we knew that once she arrived that there were a lot of uphills and valleys that she had to go through. While everyone was celebrating and being so excited about what was to come, Jessica and I, we carried, before COVID, we carried with us everywhere we went mask, where we covered up the insecurities and the doubtful thoughts that plagued our hearts and our minds as we were preparing for the arrival of our daughter. It was the best of times, but yet it was the worst of times. Being away from home every day, all day, eating to-go food, Chick-fil-A like every day, and some days not even having any food or really an appetite to even eat. I think I took, like, the first week I was down, we were there from Tuesday to, it was on a Tuesday, and then we was there. We was there forever, it seemed like. I think that morning on the way to the hospital, I took like my morning glory. That's I take that good old Duke. And that was it. That was like the only good Duke I had.
Well, it wasn't that morning, actually, because remember we hit up Five Guys that afternoon. I got off work just a little early, and then we headed to the hospital. So it was more
excuse
so
me,
that
co-host. You just really interrupted everything that I was saying earlier. Thank you. You can go back to being the engineer. I rock this show. So, excited about finally getting to meet her. And for a moment, you kind of forgot that, what was already projected to be was even happening, because we were just so excited to finally get there to have the baby. I was. And then after, she was snatched out of the womb, I saw her. She had this little purple looking tent, and she looked tired. She looked like she was just tired. Like, she looked tired. And it was then, to me, I forgot all what, that was going on with her. Looking at that little purple tent, but yet not even focusing in on it, because I'm like, wow, look at her. And the best of times. And then, finally, after she's placed in the NICU and everything, they begin to start huddling and talking. And they were talking this foreign language. And you watch them huddle. And they're huddling and talking among themselves. And then every now and then want to glance over their shoulder and look at you. And then they'll turn back and turn their backs on you and continue to huddle and talk. And then two will walk away and go in one room, and they'll send a little messenger boy to come talk to you about what's going on with your daughter, and these code words and these big words that they're using, and it's just coming fluently. And, they know what they're talking about, but then they don't know what they're talking about. You don't know what the hell is going on. You just believing that because they've gone to Wake Forest, or they've gone to Duke, they've gone to Carolina, that they're supposed to know everything, but they're practicing. They don't know anything. In my eyes, there's something. I mean, you can just talk that talk and really woo me, because I'm not from that world. That's when the worst of times begin to set in, because you're now in an unfamiliar place. You're around a group of people who have taken our people and have done experiments, trying different things to come up with something new, just to have their name placed on a wing of a hospital. It's the worst of times, man. the worst of times. And playing with her is just playing with me. And I don't like being played. It's the worst of times. Just the worst of times. A time where people would say all you can do is just pray, but you don't even feel like praying. Because times can get that bad where you don't even feel like praying. So, baby, when we talk about the best of times and worst of times and, dealing with our experience, what is your perspective on it? I was just showing you how to do an introduction, you all. By the way, I am the star of this show, Live from the Heart. My co-host, the beautiful Jessica Renee, the engineer, the director of this nonprofit, and co-founder. I don't even know how she co-founded because I'm the one that founded everything. Now I'm being funny. Go ahead. Best of times, worst of times. I'm sorry.
You're funny. You are funny. But as I sit over here and I listen to you open up great opening.
I'm the star of this show.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, I learned from you. I gleaned from you. And
You're the co-host.
I
I am the star. I'm playing. I'm messing with you.
But
You all, the only reason why I'm giving her a hard time is because she came tonight with laptop. She has little sticky notes. I mean, she came and she was doing her thing and it just wasn't flowing. And I'm just showing her how to flow in the spirit.
But all jokes aside, though, you don't talk about your story, your perspective, what you saw, what you heard, how you felt. I speak more about mine and openly about mine because that was my form of release. That was my therapy. And to sit here and listen to you, I mean, I'm like, wow, I want to know more. I want to hear more.
You want more?
I want to hear more. I want to hear from your side as a father, as someone who is supportive of us women, wives, that are going through and just trying to hold on to what glimpse of hope we have and the prayers that we have that everything is going to go as planned, as we've prayed for. The baby's going to come out healthy. This is all of this that they've spoken. It's not going to be as bad as it seems. Like, we have our stress and our burdens that we deal with. And I even think back to, I like to call it B-Day, which was really her induction day, which was supposed to be her birthday. At least that's what we thought. Induction day on August the 3rd, when we went into the hospital. And one of the verses were on that night, because I remember you laughing, having a good time with your friends on there.
Kay and Rello, yeah.
Watching verses. And I mean, I'm vlogging a little bit on my phone. Just got my phone to free up some space. And I'm also back and forth with the nurses and just trying to find someone to trust in the moment. Someone that I can lean on to say, okay, well, you've been here. You work here. You know what it's like. What should I do? They're asking me all these questions. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? You want to give her these shots? You want to give her that? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to have my baby and I want a healthy baby. So, I'm thinking back, this time supposed to be so joyous, a time that's supposed to be stress free, but yet it's the worst of times because now for me, I am about to meet my baby girl head on. And one of the scariest things for me that I talked to you about when we went to one of our last appointments, when they actually began to talk about the induction. And I cried that appointment. You remember that day?
Mm-hmm.
And then you looked at me and was like, hold on, what's going on? And I was like, I didn't realize I would be so emotional right here. And then when we left from the doctor's appointment and we were walking to the car, you were like, oh, what's going on? You want to talk to me about something? It's like you want to keep her inside. And if I was like completely honest with myself, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep her inside of my belly for as long as I could because I knew at least, although of course I wouldn't be able to carry her forever in my stomach,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that while she was there, she was safe.
Mm-hmm.
I knew while she was there, she would have all the oxygen and everything that she needed, the very thing that I would have to face after she was born. I, I didn't want to think about that. I didn't want to think that she would be lacking oxygen or that she could be blue or that she would need surgery. So in that time, I was I don't it was the best of times, but it was the worst of times. And it was also the best of times because here we were about to actually have a baby, something that we had been praying for, I had been petitioning God for, and then also in this moment, like I wasn't able to share that moment with my mother. I wasn't able to reach back and say, hey, mom, hey, dad, guess what? I'm on my way to the hospital. We're about to have justice. Like, that's something we kept to ourselves because we didn't want them to experience the anxiety that we had experienced when we first heard the news that something was wrong with our baby's heart, that she had a congenital heart defect called tetralogy of Fallot, and that she would possibly need open heart surgery immediately after she was born, or something else would have to take, some means of intervention would have to take place. So the best of times, but the worst of times. And then not only that, here it was, I was trying to prepare myself. I had already my birthing plan set up. I had attended all my birthing classes. Like, I was ready. I was there with a plan and I wanted to see it fulfilled. And when they snatched it from underneath me like a rug,
They snatch it.
they did. And told me that, listen, we believe that it's in your best interest to have an emergency C-section because your daughter is not tolerating your contractions. And every time you have a contraction, which is every minute, her heart rate is dropping. It's like
Mm-hmm.
she's having they described it as a tantrum. And so,
Mm-hmm.
us wanting the best thing for justice, we were like, you know what? Okay. But honestly, I didn't want that. That wasn't in my plans of things to do. I wanted to experience a natural birth. So now not only am I going through this cycle of grieving this pregnancy that I didn't get to have. One, yeah, because it was pandemic. It was COVID.
Right.
So, we had to be extra precaution. Look, I'm about to make up a word. We had to be we had to be extra cautious when it came to being around other people during the pandemic for my health and for mainly for Justice health. And then not only that, here it was that the birthing experience that I wanted to have, that was no longer on my list of my list of things to do. It got just somebody just scratched it on off my bucket list, And so and it seems probably small to some people who've never been through it, but grief doesn't always show up in the form of losing someone.
Right.
It also shows up in the form of not being able to, let me put it like this. Not some For some people it's losing someone, for some people, other people it's losing time. Other people, it might be the fact that I'm grieving because of unmet expectations.
That's basically what we all grieve about.
Mhm.
Regrets.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
bars not being met, goals not being accomplished, and so you grieve and mope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you miss out on the best of times.
Mhm.
Um, and you know you can possibly make up that time by just letting it go and moving forward. But it's hard to let certain things go, especially when you've placed all of those eggs into that one basket.
Yeah.
I was counting on that to happen. I mean, you had already spent the check before you even got it cashed.
Ooh.
And then they
Now
said,
I'm in overdrive.
"Are you?"
Not physical.
I'm about to say, because we
Not
want
financially.
this show is about to end early. Yeah, you've already spent the money. You haven't even cashed the check. And that's never good. So what was supposed to have been the best of times is now the worst of times, because I've had so many fantasies of this happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I've been, have you ever just meditated on something so long until it felt as if you almost had it in your hand? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. Boom. It's right here. And then, and so now that it's gone, you mope and you're complaining about it. You begin to give up. Some people, they begin to give up. They stop caring about themselves. They stop caring about life. They stop caring about their hygiene, how they look.
Mhm.
People will begin to start. They'll begin to start looking like what they're going through, and that's how you know you're going through.
Right.
But here, look, it's nothing wrong with that. You feel me? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a bad day and everybody knows it. I think it's good, because if you know I'm having a bad day, then you should realize that there are certain things that you shouldn't even bring to my table, because I'm not having a good day, period.
You mentioned something earlier, and I wrote it down. I was like, "Ooh, that's good." You said we had to walk around with masks on.
I'm the star of the show.
Yeah, masking our insecurities.
It
And
was,
had I been at work,
right.
that would have been something that I would have been doing.
And that's the reason why we didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Number one, the only thing they can do is worry. And then number two, the only thing they can do is worry the hell out of us about everything. And what does that do for you? It keeps it constantly on your mind. And guess what? It affects her.
Yeah. And that was a major thing, knowing that she had a heart defect. The doctors instructed us to stay stress-free as possible. And so for you, I felt like my pregnancy was a pretty smooth one, despite, the rough hump we had to get over for a moment. But I think you helped made and help made things, because you're still doing it now, as peaceful as possible. And that was like a responsibility that I didn't even have to take up from my end, because you handled that from yours. So I thank you for that.
Who am I to this show? I don't think I.
And when he talks about, I know he keeps saying this show, he's really talking about me. I'm his show. I'm the big show.
Mm. But who's the star?
I'm the lights,
Who's
camera,
the
the
star?
action of his life,
Who's the
and
star?
he is
Who's
my
the star?
star.
Okay, all right. As long as you know I'm the star of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So co-host, no, go ahead.
But yeah,
Finish up
so
whatever you
like
saying.
masking those insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
that is a weight in itself. And I'm so thankful to be able to be blessed with a friend along this journey. Shout out to Tish, who reached out to me during her time of hardship and was like, look, this is what's going on with me. And we two were able to connect and relate to one another. And although we were hearing news about this, news about that, we were able to empower each other along the way, despite what we were
The worst of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Despite the worst of times, you guys were able to connect and still find some light.
Yeah.
In the midst of this tunnel. That's what it's all about. Trying to find the good in everything, and essentially that's what got us home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this happened to her. Wow. Okay. What's the good news? Okay, so how you guys gonna work it out? You bringing me a lot of negativity. Is there anything optimistic that you want to share with us? Oh yeah, okay. What's up? Think on those things.
Yeah.
But let us know those too. Don't just hit us over the head with just so much of the bad stuff. Give us something good. Tell me something good. So
I want to read something real quick, because when
okay.
you said that,
you
you talked about that light, being able to hold on to that light, that like in the worst of times, we were still able to find a moment where we would be able to consider it to be the best of times. And I saw this scripture that when I was initially looking for another scripture for tonight, I saw this and I was like, oh wow, God, that's it right there. This is exactly what we're doing. I said that there are two type of grievers. There are those that grieve like they do not have hope, and then you have those that grieve like they have hope. And when I looked at the New Living Translation in chapter 4 of 1 Thessalonians verse 13, it's the last portion of that. It says, and now, dear brothers and sisters, we want you to know what will happen to the believers who have died, so you will not grieve like people who have no hope. But the part that stood out to me that I'm just talking about tonight is grieve like people who have no hope. I was like, wow, I see that. You have those people who, when they have no hope, when grief comes along, or when they feel like they've lost out on something, or lost that time, or lost maybe that goal that they were striving, like that opportunity. If they are like you talked about, those people that grieve, that like they have no hope, they find themselves in these depressed states.
Mm-hmm.
They find themselves looking like what they've gone through.
But you can go ahead
and listen, and I know you. It's all right to look, but I'm saying in terms of they stay there.
Okay.
They
all
never
right, yeah.
they never come out of that.
Right.
And I get that there's stages to grief, and even you and I think we at one point we looked like what we were going through. It was.
I don't think we ever looked like what we were going through.
I think so. Well, let me speak from my perspective. When we found out the news in that doctor's office, yeah, maybe not to the public because they didn't see us. We were behind closed doors. But I looked like what I was going through. I tried to be strong. I tried to like just muster it up and just get, but I could not shake the thoughts and
I don't
everything. You don't think so?
know. I mean, if you felt that way, then I can't
You don't think
dare.
I look defeated?
No, I once we got the news and I was already getting ready to meet um, Mike and link up with him. And so once we received the news, we just followed through with meeting him. Of course, you didn't know, and so I just took you. And I believe that sit down, that conversation, you know, that the two of them there charged us up. I feel that way.
No, and I agree with you.
Yeah. So
But before that think about that ride there. Think about right after finding out. I don't kn- I left you in the room as I went to the bathroom and I cried. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, why? Why again? And I got myself together, wiped my tears out, and I came back out there because I was trying to be strong before you. Then I got in the car and it was silence. I don't know if you recall, like it, and that ride felt like the longest, well, for me, it was the drive, but that drive felt like one of the longest drives. I didn't know where I was going. You were just directing me. I didn't say anything to you. My thoughts were racing. All I could think about was, darn, we've told my mama, we've told your mom, we told your dad, we told like all these people, which were very few, that we had told. And then the fact that we had got to this point where it's like, God, what am I gonna do now? Like, we've been thinking about this, we've been thinking about that. We're picking out names. We've picked out names. And I'm like, what now? Like, I don't want to lose that name. That was the perfect name. So in that moment, like I described it in the book. I felt like a dam that had a crack. And when it wasn't until we got to Mike and Leah's that I felt like that crack had literally busted wide open and everything in that dam that I had just began to flow out, which were my tears. But that long drive, which was only probably like 35 minutes, I did everything I could to hold back the tears as we held hands on the way down the road. So in that moment, had anybody asked me how was I doing, it didn't even have to be them, I would have just exploded. I wasn't able to hold it. I wasn't able to keep it together. And this was one of my biggest concerns. I knew you had a meeting that evening, and I was wondering, who was I going to tell when I got home? Who was going to be there? Who was I going to be able to call and talk to and share this information, get this load off of me? I was processing like all of these thoughts, and I had no idea. I had even mustered up the thought that I was going to drive to my grandma's house just so she could hold me while I cried in her arms or something. Like, that's how far I went in my thought process of just having somebody to comfort, because I knew you had your meeting coming up, and I'm just grateful that you didn't even go. You allowed that to bypass. But in that moment, I felt, as much as I tried to like be strong and hold on to something, I really felt defeated. But it goes back to what I was saying in 1 Thessalonians 13, that last part that I got. It's like I had hope, but in that moment, it's almost like somebody took a pen and not like you, Joy, if you're listening to this, when you tried to pop that balloon in the car after the graduation photo shoot. But it felt like somebody took a little pen and put it in the tip of my balloon, and the balloon was just leaking air slowly.
Yeah, well, I guess, and I can't deny how you felt.
Mm-hmm.
What kept me charged was the fact that the gentleman at the time said that was still a level where she could have a good quality of life.
Yeah.
And so I turned a deaf ear basically to everything, because I can turn an ear on you, and if I don't want to hear that, I can just turn it off. And so I just didn't want to hear that concerning her.
Mm-hmm.
It was what it was. It wasn't anything that you and I done wrong, and so I got over that part. And initially that was my thing. I knew that that part was out of my hand. It had nothing to do with you and I, so it's out of our hands. So what are we gonna do? He said that there's a chance where she can have a good quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, that's what we need.
Just that chance.
Just that chance. I'm a gambler anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 50% chance on everything.
Mm-hmm.
My issue was the fact that I'm already in the midst of a fiery trial.
Mm.
My dad is not doing well, and his expiration date is drawing near, and no one knows the day nor the hour when that would manifest itself. That was my thing. Another one,
Yeah.
I got church folk lying and plotting and planning, but yet they say they love Jesus, and that is going on. My dad he's not the man that I remember, and that's hard to take,
Mm-hmm.
and then your daughter isn't doing well. You I mean, I get it, you carrying her, but that was the worst of time for me. Like, justice was, and not to offend you, but justice was like really an afterthought,
Mm-hmm.
because she's not here. We don't even have to deal with that problem now.
Right.
I'm dealing with this. And then he says that she can still have a good quality life, a good shot and chance at quality life. So I'm like, oh, we'll get over that.
Yeah.
If this situation wasn't like the last one, oh, okay. Yeah. And then you immediately start looking up different people. And what he said, there was a swimmer who had,
And he's in the Olympics too. Yeah.
an Olympic swimmer. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, we good.
Mm-hmm. And see, that gave me hope. But I also, as much as I tried to shake it, I couldn't forget the first time and how much hope and prayers we put behind our first baby, and God saw differently. And so, what I've learned in this journey is that I can speak life, I can hope, I can pray. And these things are all good. These are things that God wants from us. But if it's not His will, then what will be, will be. And I just have to be in a mindset where I get to this place where I'm at peace with
His will.
His will.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that and knowing that His will, it has nothing but good things and blessings attached to it, that's where I find my hope. In knowing that He knows all. And here I am only seeing a limited view.
Yeah. So, um, you're saying that the whole hope is the way
Mm-hmm.
to overcome your worst of times.
I believe so.
Yeah. hmm I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Hope. And so, the gist of this show is to stress the importance of hope, the importance of continuing to believe that no matter how crazy, dark, murky, gloomy the situation becomes, that there is a better day
Mm-hmm.
arising. God showed me through a revelation, not like John on the island of Patmos, but when you look at when we were going to movie theaters, we would enter into these movie theaters and the lights were on and we're just watching all the commercials,
Mm-hmm.
and what's coming next, and everybody, you know, declining them seats, and start declining. I know when you start declining, you preparing for a nap, and we declining, and lights go out, and everybody start clapping or something, right? Lights go out.
They're excited, yeah. Now it's time for the preview.
For it's still lights when the preview.
I thought when you talking about those commercials, like the little soda commercials.
No, that's
okay.
yeah,
Because
but
that's when we get there early and the lights still on.
uh,
But yeah, the lights go out. We ready for the movie.
yeah, that's when the main event begins to happen, and that's life. It gets dark, and the main show is getting ready to happen. What you've paid for, what you've sown,
wow,
is getting ready to manifest itself. And I'm talking about all of your prayers, all of your meditation, all of that, you go into church, whatever you do, you go to church, you go to revivals, Bible study, all you're tearing and fasting, and you're doing all of that. And after those 40 days and 40 nights of fasting and just drinking Aquafina water, and you in the clear, you've done your fast, Lent is over. That's when the main show begins. That's when Calvary takes place. And it's all about how long are you willing to stand up there. How long are you willing to endure it? The main event, the darkest hours of your life, man, it's not over. It's the main event. And it's in that event, not only that God is trying to show you something, but he's using the darkness. He's using the affliction. He's using all of these things to prune and prep you. That's what's going on, because you have the best of times and the worst of times, but it should be the worst of times and the best of times, because it is the worst of times that produce the best of times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just the star of this show. She's my co-host.
Let me show you what this co-host did to come. If y'all would just seen that move he did. I mean, such power behind it. But I'm going to end with this. Lamentations 3, verses 20 through 23. This is the NLT version. It says, I will never forget this awful time as I grieve over my loss. Yet I still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercy never ceases. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. So that is just to encourage you all that every day has new hope. Every day has new joy to offer. And this is only joy and hope that the Lord, He Himself, can provide. You'll find it nowhere else. And so hold on to that hope. Hold on to that light. Because like my husband just said, listen, after the worst of times comes the best of times. So with all of that said, listen, you guys, I hope you... I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Listen, I'm saying tonight,
I'm supposed to close out. I hope you all enjoyed the show tonight. I am the star. She's my co-host. And now unto Him who's able to keep us from falling and to present us faultless before the throne.
Listen, you have just listened to Led from the Heart with your favorite host, Star James King. The only... King James and his queen dun, 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 dun. Jessica
queen to be.
Yes, but y'all listen, I hope you have enjoyed us. I hope you've laughed with us. Listen, if you cried a little bit, get your tissue, wipe those tears away. It is a new day. We are Led from the Heart podcast, which is paying homage to our nonprofit that we have officially put out there into the atmosphere. You guys, we're claiming it. Multi-million-dollar nonprofit. Get on board. Listen, head over to our website. You can serve and help us serve other families, heart warrior families at that, who are going through this journey, experiencing these emotions, grieving, but yet holding on to hope. You can help them by serving as a volunteer or serving with your money. Come on, there is a place on the website where you can help and donate. Even if it's $1, whatever you want to do, listen, do it from the heart or not at all. But we want you to start by subscribing to our podcast and do us a favor, leave us a review. Even after this second episode, if you didn't do it on the first episode, definitely do it right now on this second episode. And then next, we want you to connect with us at www.ledfromtheheart.org. While you're there, go ahead and sign up for our newsletter to receive actionable information, giveaway updates, because yes, those are coming, and more. And guess what? I told you guys last time, and I'm telling you again, it's a numbers game. So the more you like and subscribe, the more extensive our reach becomes. So pull up on us on the next episode, Saturday at 11 a.m. Peace.